Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to be teaching you about the repressed desires that are expressed in chapter 2. I will show you the extract that this is based on, so it's like the exam, and I'm also going to show you an exam essay. So this is the length of the extract we'll be looking at, and then there'll be the essay, which is about 900 words. And I'm going to cut that down for you so that it'll only be 600 to 700 because that's what many of you will be doing in the exam. Although my students can write 900 to 1,000 words. When I got their papers back, that's what I found, and they got grades 8s and 9s doing that. But you can get a grade 8 with 700 words, so I'll show you that as well. So if that sounds interesting, stick around. This is how I'll give you the text. It will be broken up a section at a time, and then you'll get the paragraphs from my essays that I'll talk you through, and I'll do that all the way through until you've got to the end of the essay. However, I don't want to make the video longer than 10 minutes because 468 of you have answered my poll. Thank you very much, and 66% of you said keep it under 10 minutes. So here we go, and I'll stop and make the next video if you fancy it afterward. 6 o'clock struck on the bells of the church that was so conveniently near to Mr. Utterson's dwelling, and still he was digging at the problem. Hitherto it had touched him on the intellectual side alone, but now his imagination was also engaged, or rather enslaved. So here's my essay, and the bold that I put in there was to show you that quotations are everywhere. You don't really have to hunt for them. They'll just pop out at you, and there isn't a right or wrong. You just grab onto the quotations that work for you. Stevenson questions the Christian setting by placing the church that was so conveniently near. Conveniently is ambiguous, perhaps a sign of his devout proximity to God, or perhaps conveying how little effort he wishes to expend in attending, because it is done only out of convention or duty. The emphasis of so suggests the latter interpretation. So in other words, he only goes to church because it's right next to his house, not through any Christian belief. This undermines the Victorian faith in Christianity, which of course this novel is attacking, isn't it? Jekyll is an atheist. Lanyon decides to commit suicide virtually by giving up on life because he can't face this unchristian world. So back to the essay. Having questioned Utterson's faith, Stevenson presents him as a proxy for the reader. His imagination also was engaged, or rather enslaved, by the tale. A proxy means he takes the place of the reader. This subtly suggests we have more in common than our imagination, and being enslaved by this great story, we are also suffering from a weakness in our Christian faith. So this is Stevenson's way of suggesting that his audience at the time is gradually becoming less Christian, less devout, and more atheistic. And that, of course, will link you to Darwin's theory of evolution. Back to the extract. And as he lay and tossed in the gross darkness of the night and the curtained room, Mr. Enfield's tale went by before his mind in a scroll of lighted pictures. The description is now filled with suppressed sexual desire, as Utterson tossed in the gross darkness. Darkness works as a motif in the novella. Motif is a recurring image or idea, continually reminding us of Hyde's evil, which always symbolises the evil of these hypocritical gentlemen. Remember, Hyde doesn't just symbolise Jekyll's evil, he represents the evil that all these gentlemen in this novella have. Utterson appears trapped in this darkness, which represents his ignorance of Hyde's identity, his fear of Hyde's lack of mercy, but also that Utterson shares his evil nature. So what I'm arguing there is he is in darkness because he has that same evil inside him, just as Jekyll had that evil inside him and released it in the form of Hyde. This is powerfully emphasised by the sibilants, suggesting a sinister tone. The darkness is also described metaphorically as gross, meaning huge and thick. So it didn't have the modern meaning of gross. This allusion to impenetrability, it can't be got through, impenetrability, is emphasized by the curtained room, which represents the theme of concealment, which also runs as a motif in the novella. So everything's being hidden all the time, isn't it? And is dramatized through Jekyll's alter ego's name, Hyde. And back to the extract again. He would be aware of the great field of lamps of a nocturnal city, then of the figure of a man walking swiftly, then of a child running from the doctors, and then these met, and that human juggernaut trod the child down and passed on regardless of her screams. So let's analyse it. Next, Stevenson points to the reason that Hyde is evil. He personifies the evil hypocrisy of Victorian society. Consequently, Utterson fantasizes about the great field of lamps of a nocturnal city. This metaphor reveals that London's true nature is nocturnal, and he emphasizes this link to nature, calling it a field. This prepares the ground for a discussion of Jekyll's true nature, and also that of the other bachelor, Utterson. Contemporary readers, that means readers at the time, would also have noticed that Enfield and Dr. Lanyon, the other protagonists, are also bachelors. Stevenson is hinting at what Oscar Wilde called only a decade later, the love which dare not speak its name, homosexuality, which you should know was illegal at the time, and Oscar Wilde actually went to jail for being found to have committed homosexual acts. And back to the extract. Or else he would see a room in a rich house where his friend lay asleep, dreaming and smiling at his dreams, and then the door of that room would be opened, the curtains of the bed plucked apart, the sleeper recalled. And the analysis. Consequently, Utterson imagines Jekyll in bed, dreaming and smiling at his dreams, which he immediately implies are dreams of Hyde. So Utterson is dreaming about Hyde here. He is the figure who Utterson now imagines entering the bedroom, and the curtains of the bed plucked apart. And the curtains of the bed plucked apart is a metaphor for uncovering what has been concealed, homosexual desire. This is why he imagines Hyde standing next to the bed with Jekyll in it, but he's also imagining himself there watching this. The use of plucked is also far more suggestive than pulled, as it implies nakedness, just as a bird is plucked of its feathers to reveal naked flesh. Back to the extract, and lo, there would stand by his side a figure to whom power was given, and even at that dead hour he must rise and do its bidding. The analysis. What is revealed is desire itself, personified by a figure to whom power was given, and even at that dead hour he must rise and do its bidding. Although this figure in Utterson's mind is the mysterious Hyde, Jekyll is enslaved by the desire for the man to whom power was given. This is the same enslavement of the imagination which had affected Utterson's dreams. Stevenson therefore suggests that Utterson shares the same sexual desire, the same homosexual desire that Jekyll has. It's odd that Hyde has already been named, but that Utterson does not name him as the figure. He doesn't call him Hyde is standing there, does he? Stevenson wants us to focus on that oddness because it means the figure could be Utterson himself, fantasizing about a sexual relationship with his great friend Jekyll. Okay, so that's a bit of a rush, but because the text is always on the screen, I'm hoping you can just pause it, go back and review the bits that you want to see again. In the next video, I will tell you why Stevenson decides to portray these men as repressing a homosexual desire. So, good luck, and don't forget to subscribe and watch out for the next video.